Lawmakers in Lebanon have voted to elect the country's army chief as president, widely seen as the preferred choice of military backer, the United States, and regional heavyweight Saudi Arabia.
Joseph Aoun. Joseph Aoun.
What an irony. Today, Hezbollah is no longer in the military capacity it used to enjoy. Bashar al-Assad's regime has collapsed. A few months ago, former leader of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah, told the Lebanese people, accept now the candidate we were backing, or we are backing, that Hezbollah was backing at the time, former lawmaker Sulaiman Frangieh, a very close ally of Bashar al-Assad, or you will even regret this name in the future.
Born in 1964 in the Sin el-Fil district in eastern Beirut, he studied political science and international affairs before joining the army as a cadet in 1983. Equally at ease in French and in English, the father of two comes from the Maronite Christian community. In Lebanon, the role of president is reserved for a Christian as part of its power-sharing structure. At the helm of the Lebanese army since 2017, Aoun, who shares the same last name as Lebanon's last president, Michel Aoun, but is of no relation, is said to have the support of international players like the United States and Saudi Arabia. He played a significant role in the peace deal brokered by Paris and Washington between Israel and Hezbollah. And since then, international pressure had been mounting to end the political stalemate in Lebanon.
It was the 13th time MPs had voted on this matter. Lebanon has been without a president since Michel Aoun's term ended in October 2022.
It's the parliament of Lebanon that elects a president. And there are very complex rules related to quorum, related to the number of MPs who first need to be present in the room, and the number of MPs who need to vote for a certain candidate for that candidate to win. Over the last 2.5 years, the lawmakers failed to reach a consensus around a name, and therefore, after every one of the 13 previous sessions, lawmakers affiliated with Hezbollah and their allies physically leave the parliament room, and therefore the quorum is lost, and the voting rounds cannot continue. And this was Hezbollah's way of blackmailing everyone in Lebanon by saying that either you vote for the candidate backed by Hezbollah or you will have no president. What has changed is the war that Lebanon has gone through and the military defeat of Hezbollah, which has significantly weakened its ability to impose anything, neither on the international community nor on the other Lebanese political parties.
His appointment ends a power vacuum that lasted for more than 2 years. Joseph Aoun now faces the daunting tasks of overseeing a fragile ceasefire and naming a prime minister capable of implementing the reforms demanded by international creditors.
Joseph Aoun was, for 7 years, the commander of the Lebanese armed forces. He's now the nation's president. After failing to win the necessary 86 votes in a first round, he passed that threshold in a second vote, finally filling a power vacuum that had been in place for over 2 years. He received 99 votes.
And with that, Army Commander Joseph Aoun won enough votes to win the office.
Of late, the 60-year-old had become the face of consensus in Lebanon. He managed to not only gain the support of nearly all of the Sunni MPs, but enough of Hezbollah and Shiite lawmakers as well, after the Hezbollah-backed candidate withdrew and backed him.
Hezbollah is a key political force. First of all, because of the very nature of the Lebanese political system that is based on power sharing and consociational power sharing among different sects. And Hezbollah enjoys significant and still enjoys significant support within the Shia community. But let's remember what used to happen in every single election, at least since, 1995. If a candidate doesn't have the full support of Hezbollah, they wouldn't be even considered for the position. A few months ago, former leader of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah, told the Lebanese people, accept now the candidate we were backing, or we are backing, that Hezbollah was backing at the time, former lawmaker Sulaiman Frangieh, a very close ally of Bashar al-Assad, or you will even regret this name in the future. What an irony. Today, Hezbollah is no longer in the military capacity it used to enjoy. Bashar al-Assad's regime has collapsed. And even though in the first round of voting, Hezbollah and their allies, the Amal movement, did not vote for Joseph Aoun, they only gave themselves a kind of cosmetic, face-saving approach by delaying the second round of voting by 2 hours just to pretend they have some negotiations and to tell their constituency that they negotiated some kind of deal that would make the election of Joseph Aoun acceptable. It is almost pathetic, but what's truly pathetic is all that time that Lebanon lost without a president. The name of Joseph Aoun was floated not a couple of months ago. It was one of the front runners since the very beginning of the presidential void, since the end of the term in office of former President Michel Aoun. Why did we lose all that time if at the time we knew that he was the preferred candidate or the candidate who enjoyed the widest support? Why did we have to lose so much time with a caretaker cabinet that could not implement any reform, with a leadership in Lebanon that didn't enjoy any kind of trust, neither among the population nor among the international partners? Why did we have to go through a war that destroyed even further Lebanon's infrastructure? All of this to reach a conclusion that could have been reached in 2022 and that would have shielded Lebanon against so much destruction and further economic collapse. One major task for the president, at least in the next few months, it's his ability to guarantee the full implementation of the ceasefire agreement and consequently the full implementation of UN Security Council Resolution 1701, which is seen as the gateway for Lebanon to regain some form of security stability, some form of sovereignty that are preconditions for any international aid to Lebanon, a country that is going through one of the worst economic crises, that needs heavy investment in reconstruction. This money will not come if the leadership of the country is seen as corrupt or is seen as beholden to the interests of the political parties, those very political parties that brought Lebanon to the brink of complete collapse. In Lebanon, constitutionally speaking, the president doesn't enjoy a lot of powers. However, the president, especially in the first weeks after his election, enjoys a lot of moral leadership and moral power. And it is the members of parliament who will have to share the name of their preferred prime minister with the president. So this is actually a test for whether or not the political forces in Lebanon will be playing a positive role or not. If in the coming days, a prime minister who is also immune from corruption, who hasn't meddled in the horrible governance that Lebanon has gone through over the last decades, is named. If that prime minister, alongside the president, form a cabinet swiftly, rather than having to wait for many months in the same fashion that we had to go through during the previous cabinet formation. So this would be a signal that there is enough pressure on the Lebanese political forces to go through the reform process. But if we don't have a prime minister that is as trustworthy as the president, and if the formation of the cabinet takes ages, it means that the same political forces have done what they've always done. Basically, pretend that they are open to reform and open to unlock the political deadlock in order to look good in front of the international community, and then going back to what they do best, stalling any ability for the Lebanese people to actually dream of better governance, of less corruption, of better services, and a better future. Today, it's really critical because we're talking about hundreds of thousands of people who have lost their homes, who cannot go back to their homes. We're talking about a country whose infrastructure is completely inexistent, and a financial system, a banking system that has completely collapsed. I mean, they're all bankrupt. So unless there is a serious political will to make sure that every point that the president spoke about in his inaugural speech are implemented, then that same political class will be responsible for further pushing Lebanon into a situation that will destroy, any prospect of hope.